I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger.
God bless you, Bryan Cranston. I mean, just that line delivery, I am the danger. Just, oh, I love it so much. So I finally got a chance to sit down and rewatch Breaking Bad, one of my favorite shows, and just, yeah. This show is a masterpiece. Everything in it matters. It's so intricately plotted and structured. Its characters are amazing. Just, I love how every plot point, no matter how long ago it happened, like it could have been seasons ago, is relevant and matters and comes into play, and just, God, Vince Gilligan, you're a genius. I have to say, this rewatch was really interesting, just because, like, this time around, I wasn't focusing on the plot like I knew what was going to happen, so instead I was just picking up on the subtle nuances and character dynamics, and just, God, it's great. Walter White is one of the most interesting characters in fiction ever. Just the way Bryan Cranston plays him, the way he's written, it's just fantastic. His transition into Heisenberg is so fascinating because it's so subtle. By season 3, there is a clear transition that Walter White isn't the same man that started out the show, but his change is so subtle that you kind of just have to, like, think about it for a minute. You're just like, wait a second, the Walt that we see here isn't the Walt that started out the show. When he becomes the scary, calm yet intimidating Kingpin in season 5, that transition clearly happens around about season 3 and 4, but when Walt decides that making meth isn't a means for him to provide for his family anymore, but instead a means for him to feel alive, the change is so subtle that you can't really pinpoint where it happens. Like, maybe in season 2, maybe in season 3, like, I can't really tell because it's been there since the beginning. In season 1, when he has that confrontation with Tuco and he brings the fulminated mercury and he throws it down and gets the money back and then goes back to his car and has that massive, like, rush of adrenaline, that was when Walter White was no longer Walter White and became Heisenberg, right? Because it's always been there since the beginning. But then for the next 2 seasons, his excuse for, oh, I have to do it to provide for my family still feels viable. It's not until about seasons 4 and 5 when you go, oh, now it's just about the money and the power. God, he's just such a fascinating character. Like, this time around, I was just like, wait, Walter White is the villain of the story. Yes, he's our protagonist, but when you look at everything he does in the grand scheme of things, he is the villain of the story. He's a bad person. Though I will say in the penultimate episode and the finale of season 5, it does seem like Walt is sort of seeking redemption and trying to right the wrongs he's made. I mean, his vanity and his ego was the reason why Gus Fring was probably trying to kill him. Because I think if Walt had just stayed in his lane, cooked the meth, and didn't try to get back into Gus's good books, I think everything would have been okay at the end. I mean, I say that, I'm still not 100% sure if Gus actually was trying to kill Walt or not, because I mean, Gus is a reasonable man, he has a code, he has a principle, and at the end of the day, I don't think he was trying to kill Walt. But I mean, I don't know, I can't tell if that was either a bluff or a scare tactic. My favourite character of the show is Jesse. He always has and he always will be. Just Jesse is my favourite character. In a lot of ways, the story of Breaking Bad is this weird, warped, fucked up coming-of-age story for him, and just, I love it. Because at the end of the day, Jesse doesn't 100% lose his sense of morality. His affinity for protecting children and the innocent is just what makes the character so likeable to me. Like, he'll get down in the dirt, he'll do the dirty work, he'll also shut his mouth, but if you involve children or children get in harm's way, his morality will take over and he will go after you. Which is why him teaming up with Hank to take down Walt in season 5 just felt so organic. And God, Walt and Jesse's dynamic is so fucking complicated, and I love it. One minute they're teacher-student, then the next they're like older brother, younger brother, then the next they're at each other's throats, then the next minute they're like father and son, and then the next minute they're sworn enemies, and then another minute Walt's just gaslighting Jesse. Their relationship is so complicated and dynamic, and I love it. It's so rich. I won't lie, it does hurt my heart that by the end of the series, they are on somewhat bad terms. Like, yes, Walt saves Jesse from the neo-Nazis, but then the scene where Jesse has the gun on Walt and he's just like, say it! Say that you want this! I'm not doing anything until you say you want this! And then Walt's just like, I want this. And then Jesse's just like, then do it yourself! Just, it's such a great moment because it's finally the scene where Jesse stops doing Walt's bidding, but also just like, they end on such bad terms, like, no, they were like best friends once upon a time, like, God damn it. God, this cast is amazing. Like, everyone is just perfect and I love them all. Bryan Cranston is just the best as Walter White. Aaron Paul is incredible as Jesse, and it's really surprising to see that this is like his breakout role. He didn't really do much acting before this, and just, he is absolutely incredible and felt like a seasoned pro. Like, honestly, it's so insane how good he is.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it!
Anna Gunn is great as Skylar, and honestly, I don't get the hate for Skylar. Like, she seems like a reasonable person. Like, when people online call her like a bitch or really naggy, I'm like, To me, she just seems like a reasonable mother. Like, sure, yeah, she's a bit naggy, but aren't all mothers? Dean Norris is great as Hank. Giancarlo Esposito is amazing as Gus Fring. Jonathan Banks is great as Mike. Though, I will say, I think that probably the weakest part of the show is the way Mike goes out. Like, the way he dies is really dumb. Like, Walt shoots him, and then he's just like, oh, wait, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. But then you have Bob Odenkirk as Saul Goodman, aka the MVP of Breaking Bad. And fucking Bill Burr is in this. Like, he's great in this, and just, I love Bill Burr. He's my favorite character in Star Wars, and just, his Monday morning podcast is amazing. He's hilarious, just, I love Bill Burr. Honestly, I love this cast. They all work so well, and they're one of the reasons why the show is so strong. Now, I've had friends say that Breaking Bad is hard to get into and season 1 is too slow, and fair enough. I mean, season 1 is the slowest paced one. But to me, the scene that sold me on the show was the scene where Walt finds the missing piece of plate and found out that Crazy 8 stole it. Like, to me, that scene is haunting. Like, he goes down to the basement and then, like, strangles them to death with a bite clock. It's haunting, it's creepy, it's chilling, and just, it's one of my favorite scenes. And ever since then, I got hooked onto the show and I loved it. I will say, the ending to season 1 is a little weird. Like, I don't know why, in my brain, I always think that season 1 ends with Walt dealing with Tuco and, you know, throwing the fulminated mercury and taking the money. But there's actually an episode after that, and it's weird because that episode, whilst being good, it feels like it should be the first episode of season 2. And then what makes it even funnier is that the opening scene to season 2 is the last scene in the last episode of season 1. So, I mean, can you really blame me since it all just, like, blends together? But I digress. Season 2 is great, it's so solid, and it has my favourite episode of the entire show. The episode where Walt and Jesse get stuck in the desert after their mass cooking session is just the best episode. It pretty much sums Walt and Jesse's relationship in just one episode. Like, the teacher-student dynamic, the brother dynamic, the father-son dynamic, the best friend dynamic, it's all there in that one episode. Plus, there's this great moment here.
What one particular element comes to mind? Wire. Copper.
Season 2 also has the horrific moment of Walt watching Jane choke to death on her vomit, and just, God, it's horrible, it's haunting, it's a horrible way to go. I mean, yes, Jane was a bad influence on Jesse and probably would have ended up killing him, but just, God, just no one deserves to go out like that. Just, ugh. And the ending to season 2 is really good. I like how the big plane crash is foreshadowed at the beginning of each of the episodes with those like weird black and white clips until it's finally revealed that it's part of a plane crash. And I think that's probably the biggest the show goes scale-wise, minus the train heist in season 5. And that's something. The show is really great at managing tone. This show has people addicted to meth, killing, torture, child killing, but it also manages to have things like pizza on the roof for a giant magnet.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
Or Spooge and his wife without ever breaking its tone. If that isn't a testament to how well crafted this show is, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But seasons 3 to 5 is a massive roller coaster and just, it never stops. It's Breaking Bad at its best and I love it. There's too many amazing moments to count. From the Salamanca twins attacking Hank, to Walt driving over the men who killed the kid, to Jesse killing Gale, to Gus slicing Victor's throat with a box cutter, to Walt's "I am the one who knocks" monologue, to the ending of Crawl Space, to Gus being blown up by Hector Salamanca, to Walt becoming the new drug kingpin, to the train heist, to Todd killing Drew Sharp, to Jesse turning on Walter after finding out he poisoned Brock, and it all culminates into a perfect conclusion. Tallahassee, Ozymandias, and the finale Felmina are awesome episodes of TV. There are just so many incredible moments in each episode, especially Ozymandias. Like, to me, that's one of Rian Johnson's best works. Jesse and Hank trick Walt into giving away the location of his money, and they have him dead to rights until the neo-Nazis show up. They kill Hank, and then take Jesse as a meth slave, and then Walt's family turns on him after Hank's death, and they refuse to take his drug money, and he's left with nothing. And the finale is perfect, because it's Walt with nothing left to lose going back to Albuquerque to right his wrongs and die. He knew he wasn't coming out alive, but he just needed to make sure that everything he did didn't go to waste. And then you have moments like Jesse killing Todd and the moment between him and Walt I mentioned earlier. Like, it's just the best. And the poetic nature of Walter White dying in a meth lab is just so perfect and the only way to end the show. In conclusion, Breaking Bad is pretty much a masterpiece. Like I said earlier, it's so well crafted. I love the actors. I love how deep and layered the characters are. I love the cinematography. I mean, Michael Slovis' cinematography is always gorgeous. The writing, the soundtrack, it's all just perfect. And honestly, Breaking Bad is one of my favorite shows. It's definitely in my top 3, along with Marvel's Daredevil and Game of Thrones. Just, God, Breaking Bad is absolutely phenomenal and just, yeah, I love this show. So that's pretty much what I think of Breaking Bad. It's a masterpiece. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, social media links are down in the description, so give those looking a follow. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.